Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the state of the industry. First, the history. I'm going to be skipping past a lot of information here. Not even going to try and touch on the days of Pong and Space War because then this lecture would take years. But it's an interesting history, and if you want to see us talk about it, let us know. In the pre-game explosion era, when most of us weren't even born yet, there were two main modes of playing a video game. You had personal gaming, and you had arcade gaming. The big defining trait of personal gaming of this era was that you'd be making a substantial, one-time purchase with minor purchases every now and then for like a game cartridge or a disc. After that, as long as you had power, you could play the game with whoever you wanted, whenever you wanted. On the other hand, you had arcade systems, famous games like Galaga, Pac-Man, Space Invaders, Donkey Kong, the list goes on and on. For these machines, it's the arcade itself paying the high upfront cost. As a player, you have a relatively low cost per play, and it's a lot more accessible in the short term. Now, modern gaming doesn't exactly have a defined start date, but I'm going to be putting it around the 2004-2005 era and hitting on some key points. Now, with modern gaming comes the internet. You have the advent of non-local multiplayer, server-based live service model games, and the proliferation of downloadable content. There's some good and bad sides to this. I'll touch on them later. Next, we have the indie game explosion. Now more than ever, small independent developers have the opportunity to create games. The tools available at your fingertips are almost limitless. Think about your projects now, and imagine the possibilities that a small team of developers has if it just sits down and creates for a few years. Gaming is also slowly becoming more mainstream. Gaming in the past has always been seen as a hobby or recreational activity, the same way people used to think about fishing or golfing. You know, kids love it, parents look down on it, you get the gist. Nowadays though, video games are reaching everybody. Our parents are playing Candy Crush and Pokemon Go on their phones, our little cousins are playing Fortnite on an iPad. Gaming has permeated a lot of our culture, and it's here to stay for the foreseeable future. Next, we also have the rise of big business and commercialization. With gaming becoming bigger, that means that there's going to be people looking to make some money off of it. There's pros and cons to this as well, but again, we'll get to that in a second. Lastly, we have the birth of gaming entertainment. Now more than ever, people can have careers and make a living doing what they love. We also have the rise of esports, gaming YouTube channels, and Twitch streamers who have become cultural icons in and of themselves. Now normally when I give this lecture, I have an audience participation break where people just kind of shout out what they think are some good and bad things about gaming nowadays. Seeing as we don't have that capacity, here's the list that we came up with last semester. Feel free to pause the video and to read it if you want, but I'm going to keep chugging along and talking about the rest of the topics. So first, I want to talk about forming communities and safe spaces. Gaming brings people together and helps them form unique and diverse communities. Dozens to thousands of people can exchange thoughts, share jokes, and create memories together. Games also help countless people through their tough patches by providing escapism and a place to take a mental break. Whether it's family trouble, academic stress, or a world-crippling pandemic, games are a priceless source of entertainment. The communities can also make you feel like you belong. An awkward teenager might not feel like they have a place at school, but there might be a Discord server, a YouTube channel, or a Twitch chat where they feel at home and feel safe. Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows though. Social problems permeate gaming and the culture around it. We've got gender and race issues, toxicity, elitism, gatekeeping, the list goes on and on. Unfortunately, as much as it saddens me, and probably you guys too, a non-negligible portion of the gaming community does engage in this sort of negativity, and it doesn't take much to give a group a bad reputation. Just as someone can feel accepted in a community, they can just as easily feel ostracized and isolated by their peers in these communities as well. All we can really do is to try our best and do our part in shaping the community and culture in the right direction. Okay, now we get to the techie stuff, the hardware. My desktop, as an example, over the course of 4 to 5 years, has cost me much more money than I'd care to admit. A new Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, and the likes can also be quite expensive, But nowadays, we're slowly de-emphasizing the need for expensive hardware. With things like NVIDIA GeForce Now, which cloud computes to act as your graphics card, even a potato laptop can run the most graphically intensive games. Party games and account sharing also ease the financial burden and lower the bar of entry for people who just want to play some games. Just like how you've got people leeching a Netflix account, things like Steam Family Sharing make things more affordable. Now, of course, the aforementioned expensive consoles are still around. We've seen a few generations of console wars already, with the biggest players being PlayStation and Xbox. Funnily enough, Nintendo always seems to escape the scrutiny, but they're not blameless here either. Maybe you saw a trailer for a new, awesome looking game that looks perfectly made for you. You're excited until at the very end you see, coming soon for PlayStation 5. Maybe you already have a Switch, maybe you don't have the money to shell out for a new console. In most cases, you're out of luck. Exclusives have been a drain on some wallets and will foreseeably still be here for a while to come. Recently, we've also seen the rise of the launcher wars, with platforms such as Steam and the Epic Game Store, GOG, and Battle.net. The biggest perpetrator would be the Epic Game Store, which likes to nab up exclusivity deals. If you don't like Epic and don't want to support them, well, outside of pirating and hurting the developer, you don't really have a choice. There's also things like third-party websites that sell game keys and piracy websites that let you bootleg a copy of games. While free things might be nice, these types of websites are hurting game developers all around the world. Next, I want to talk about the power of money. When done in a good way, investment and money getting put into games is beneficial both to developers and players. There are some amazing examples from smaller game studios about how to make games that are very consumer friendly. CD Projekt Red and their standard bundle for Cyberpunk 2077 is a great example. You've got the game, a world compendium, a map poster, and stickers. Things you'd find in a regular collector's edition is being offered with the base package. As another example, we have Warframe. They're a free-to-play game, but the developers still need to make their money somehow. Ask anyone in the community, and the majority of the time you'll find someone who says that they feel the developers are extremely fair, offering cosmetics and quality of life items that have nothing game-breaking. Now, on the other hand, I can rant for hours about the failures of money when it comes to gaming. For AAA games alone, I can write an entire lecture on the amount of fails that the studios have gone through. Some notables that you've probably heard of: Fallout 76 launching as a completely broken game, all those sports games being a shameless cash grab, Blizzard crapping the bed when it comes to PR, Pokemon Sword and Shield lying about reused assets, and the list just gets longer and longer. Quality in some studios has gone down even if the graphics have gotten better. Now, there are other ways for companies to fish for your money too. Anti-consumer marketing and tactics, loot boxes, and half-baked games that are released broken and slowly patched over a few months or years are just a few of the things that screw over the player. Now, I do want to make a distinction here between publishers and developers. Developers are the ones creating the games, but oftentimes it's their publishers that will end up screwing over players. You hear a lot of stories about publishers and corporate execs squeezing developers, and you can really see the effects. EA didn't get a bad reputation the past few years for no reason. Addiction and exploitation is a big issue too. Gambling mechanics, loot boxes, mobile casinos that are veiled in minor gameplay, also known as gacha games. These games are psychologically preying on you for your wallet, to the point that some countries are even trying to write legislation against it. Now onto some miscellaneous topics. With Kickstarter and indie support systems on Steam and Epic, like I said before, it's never been a better time to be an indie dev. There's also the problem that is the inability for players to voice their opinions. Besides voting with your money, the only real proper way to vent is through Reddit complaining and review bombing, which isn't good either. This year has also been the year of massive delays in games. Just off the top of my head, we've had Cyberpunk 2077 and Final Fantasy VII Remake already delayed, and with COVID-19, who knows how developers are going to be affected moving forward. My guess, I expect some more delays, and try to support your favorite content creators in these tough times. This year has also been the year of massive delays in games. Just off the top of my head, we have Final Fantasy VII Remake and Cyberpunk 2077 being delayed, with the studios citing the need to polish their games some more and to give their staff, some more time so as not to crunch as hard. And now with COVID-19, who knows how long developers are going to be affected moving forward. My guess, expect some more delays and try to support your favorite content creators in these tough times. You've also probably heard of developer crunch, with the annualization of game franchises like NBA 2K a million, Call of Duty 52. Developers are being pushed to the point of mental breakdown, and that's something that studios are aware of now, but they're tackling to varying degrees of success. Lastly, there's also really poor journalism going on in the gaming community. In the interest of time, I'm not going to be playing the video for you guys, but I'll have a little description down below for you guys to laugh along with. Alright, looking forward, despite everything I've said, the video game industry is still a fledgling market. There is tremendous room for improvement and for growth. And things are looking up too. Gambling commissions are stepping up to combat developers that are using predatory tactics in their games. Social issues are becoming more and more prevalent, with people becoming more aware of them and doing their best to make sure that players feel safe and included. The community can also do amazing things too, just one example being charity live streams that donate to amazing causes. Opportunities are also abundant and change is happening. And each and every one of us can make a huge difference. Anywhere from joining the industry itself as a developer, or just being an inclusive and decent player will go a long way to making the industry a better place. Thanks for watching, everyone. In a week, we'll have Jasmine and Lucas going over tutorial design. You've probably all heard of developer crunch too, with